Okay, welcome to Module 6. So now that we have completed, hopefully, the research portion of this synopsis project, we are now going to turn into the writing of the synopsis and the organizing of this research and how to introduce it to an academic audience. So it's important to go back here and review what the assignment is. Rewatch the video, study the assignment again. Please reach out with questions because I know there's a hiccup in that earlier assignment where you had the opportunity to ask questions. So look at what we are doing here. We are conducting research, the secondary research, where we are gathering the research articles and the research conducted and published by other experts in the field. And we are studying them, we're bringing them together, we're studying them to add and build on our personal observations in our autoethnography. So those personal observations are so important, but they're incomplete. In order to get a really full, multifaceted, and more accurate picture of what this social behavior looks like, we have to add to our perspective by looking at other people's perspectives, looking at the credible research out there and the other experts who have written about this social behavior. And at this point in this project, we are simply going to write that information up, those different sources up in a synopsis of research for an academic reader. And that synopsis is going to open with an introduction, a 300-word introduction. And so review the research criteria, but we've already kind of met that point. We've found the 4 sources and 2 of them are going to be peer-reviewed articles. And so putting this synopsis together, again, look at, I'm going to open this up in a new tab, look at that student example. So you can remember what we're doing. You're going to have that introduction that tells your reader, and this is a different project, so don't use this as a guide so much, but you're going to have that introduction where you're going to let the reader know what they're about to read, what that social behavior is, why it's important to gather research and see what experts have to say about that, and also to identify 1 or 2 common points of discussion that you recognized in that research, and introduce the synopsis. And so the synopsis is simply 1 page per source, and you're going to tell who is the author, what is the publication, a summary, an originally written summary of what the article is all about, all of the key points of the summary, why it is relevant in the citation. 1 of those for every source. Okay, it's not difficult, but it's an important type of work in research. And so we're going to do that, but also involved in that is this introduction, okay? And so if we go back to the module, this week is all about identifying those common points of discussion that we can refer to when we write the introduction. And so I have here some handouts, yes, and some tutorials and a little lecture video on using the SOAR mapping system method to identify, to organize all of this content that we have gathered together, to identify those common points of discussion, which are going to be really, really important in writing that introduction and in writing the essay that we're going to be doing in Project 3. And so read this over, read what it means to synthesize sources, read, this is the map that we're going to use, and this right here, I'm going to pull this up really quickly. Watch this video. Please watch this video. It's going to be so helpful. It's really paramount in what we are doing. And here are the slides that go along with that video if you wanted to just follow along or have them convenient for later on. Look at all of that stuff. Later on, in Module 7, there are some handouts on writing effective introductions, and this is one of the best handouts I've come across. It is a really good handout. Also, some resources on how to write summaries, because that synopsis is going to include a lot of summaries, 1 for each of those sources. So a summary is going to be written in your original words. It's not going to include quotes. It's you telling the reader what this author has written. And so the author is going to be the main subject of every sentence of a summary. First they write about this, then they write about this, then they write about this, then they bring in this case study, then they talk about this experiment or whatever. So you're just running through the key points. That's what a summary is, but please read those over. Then have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And then after Thanksgiving, this final synopsis is due. And I encourage you to open this up and look down here at the rubric so that you can exactly see what I'm going to be grading here. All right, so that is an overview of both 6 and 7, but I think they both go together, and so this video covers the rest of this project, and then we are going to move into our final project, but we're already doing all the research for that project. So we're already going to be halfway there once we're finished with this one. So please reach out if you have any questions. Have a great week.